With Wi-Fi networks being cheaper to deploy, without the need to buy expensive licenses, and allowing service on all kinds of devices, why aren't MNOs not adopting Wi-Fi as their standard means of networking?
I'm not a technology expert to that extent, but there are major problems with Wi-Fi versus the current whether fixed line or mobile technologies. First of all, it could be, but it's not standardized of moving from one Wi-Fi hotspot location to another. So what is well defined, let's say in a mobile network, the handover protocol, and then the roaming. So one thing is about how you're moving from one location to another without uninterrupted access to the next hotspot and who owns that. That is solved in the mobile network. And it's solely solved by the fact that it's owned by one company. And by the way, that one company, that is just one of the usually typically 2 to 4 or 5 options in any country as per say mobile operators. But the mobile operators standards are also connected. So you can move your connectivity, not just within the hotspots of mobile stations, but you can move it outside the country as well. Now that's what Wi-Fi don't have. And why Wi-Fi don't has it? Because nobody has ever installed a countrywide or then worldwide Wi-Fi network that has that kind of a prevalence and handover. And it's basically because of simply capital expenditure. You cannot afford to do that. I'm not sure about the Wi-Fi's other problems about security. I think Wi-Fi doesn't have proper encodings of how you can have a central database of collecting authentications. I think the nodes can identify people, and the SSID, so the different segments of the Wi-Fi, can also let certain devices to code it. But the devices is not again turned into persons behind that, and then the whole kind of a financial settlement flops again. But that's one of the reasons. Probably the real reason is something I cannot clearly explain or fill you in with. Is technologically it must be sub-inferior when it comes to security and authentication to the current other legacy systems.
OTTs are gaining traction and influence globally. If you were to put them into a boxing ring and ask them to fight it out, which 3 would be left standing, would you say, and why?
Now, when I'm thinking about it, again, I don't want to think about existing companies today, because they will not exist in the same form in 5 or 10 years. So it's almost futile to think about them as they are. I think human life will evolve because of multiple external impacts into more and more moving into the homes, or what I would call modern caves. More and more the life around us will be virtualized, and more humans will find their kind of a perseverance or pursuance of indulgence in augmented realities. So whoever will have a platform, Second Life probably was a bit too early when it was mainstream about 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago. But any company who will create this virtual environment around people and then still make them possible to connect it to other human beings will be the ones who are going to become the mainstream platforms and way of living. In that respect, I think current social media platforms and Weibo and Facebook obviously are the 2 household names today, are the preliminary candidates right now who will win the OTT game. Because everything else will be delivered, financials, content, food, 3D printing, whatever, within this framework, this kind of a virtual reality framework in, what do you call it, in a matrix. Let's not even forget that there is, according to some mathematical formulation, there's a fair chance, not a big, but about 25% that we already live in that. We just don't know about it.
Which do you think are the 3 best mobile network operators in the world, and why?
Yeah, as I said, it's difficult. I not with a modesty. I would not use the word best, because the best is a difficult category to be grabbed. But I'll tell you the ones that I'll see somewhat doing different and not racing to the bottom to become basically a utility. I have to start with home. So I think Jersey Telecom started to venture out from this very, very small jurisdiction and started to do something that, probably because of the limitation of our economies of scale, we had to innovate ourselves. And we now providing all kind of amazingly exciting services, from mobilizing IoTs, machine-to-machine developments around the world, even to helping the finance industry in different countries to limit the risk by providing all kind of subscriber information real time next to the card transactions, to even in getting involved in all traditional trading activity of minutes to back and forth. So basically using our tier 1 connectivity. I think Jersey Telecom is, as you said in your introduction, is very impressive compared to its size and punching well above its weight. I do think that who would I put second? I mean, well, there's another company I know quite inheritedly and involvedly was Vodafone. I'm not saying Vodafone has done anything spectacular in the last couple years. I mean, the CEO, Vittorio Colau, who just stepped down, was a very, very strong financial mechanist. And in this way, he was rather divesting ailing units and only very carefully growing with the acquisitions. Actually, I don't think Vodafone has grown as impressively as it was growing when I was there between the 2000 and 2010. Nevertheless, I saw that Vodafone also picked up the other problem it always had. So I think it's moving in the right direction, that it was only a mobile-only company. And now buying Liberty, as the last stunt that they just did, they're moving in the right way to make it a triple play. Because if I'm right with the cave analogy, and people will be forced back into the homes and in their own virtual reality, connectivity and fixed connectivity will be the big game, when mobile will be just the intermediary step between the cave and if somebody occasionally move out. So fixed line and combination with mobile will becoming the ticket to the game in the future. Third, who I would pick third? I mean, third probably, I don't know actually it works anymore. One company impressed me in the past. That was probably about 15 years ago. And cannily, they never got anywhere with the proposition. But it was an operator called C-Cell CNET that was operating in quite a few, like 16, 15 different African countries. And they introduced well ahead of European Union's roaming freeness in Africa. And I always found those guys quite ballsy in that respect with that move. Eventually they got sold to one of the Middle East operators or conglomerates. But I found those disruptions similar what Xavier Niel did with the Free in France. So still in the bottom of my heart, I still love any incumbent, rattling, disruptive challenger, commercial initiators. I found them quite impressive.